Hi, welcome to the National Critics' Choice, and we have a very special guest with us today, and that's none other than Mr. Tom Schmidt, who is the author of the last award-winning volumes of Bumbling Through series, and he's just released his third volume, that is Bumbling Through Hong Kong. And today we're going to ask him a few questions about his inspiration behind, and of course, the secret of how he became an award-winning author for his series. Tom, tell us, more about your experience through Hong Kong, and what inspired you to bumble through.
Okay. Well, basically, the Bumbling Traveler series is it's an educational graphic novel, and it's set up to create awareness, cultural awareness, environmental awareness about some different destinations. And this is the third volume of the series. The first one was called Bumbling Through Borneo, and the second one was called Bumbling Through Sumatra. And this third one, which is kind of a follow-on to the second one, is Bumbling Through Hong Kong. And but Hong Kong is one of these places where it's absolutely fascinating. There's all different kinds of things happening there, in terms of cultural events and tourism draw. It's quite a very interesting place. So.
Now, speaking about Hong Kong, and as well as one of the most attractive, journeys in Southeast Asia, what are the three key elements in your experience that you could recommend from your chapters?
In terms of Hong Kong?
Yes, in terms of Hong Kong, because you have seen some unique cultures in terms of the cuisine and of course beliefs and superstition. And even we heard about the eco park of some sort.
The geopark.
The geopark.
Yeah.
That's right. Please tell us more about it.
Well, Hong Kong is one of these places where it's got this reputation for being shopping paradise and lots of good food and restaurants and things like that. And the fact of the matter is, something like 70% of the land area in Hong Kong is actually dedicated to country parks. So there's this tremendous portion of Hong Kong that's relatively unexplored when it comes to tourism. And these include the Geopark, which is a UNESCO protected area, which consists of some fantastic geological formations. There's also wetlands, where migratory birds stop. There's petroglyphs, which are rock carvings, prehistoric rock carvings in the cliffs. So there's so much, so many natural assets of Hong Kong that is really not on many tourists' itinerary. And then there's also obviously the cultural items, because Hong Kong's got a very interesting and rich history. You've got heritage trails, you've got ancient temples and things like that. So it's quite a fantastic place for things other than shopping. So.
Now, speaking about shopping, is there any one place that you've been to throughout Hong Kong where shopping provides a unique experience, even for an expat?
I think that they have the traditional ones, which I think are kind of a bit touristy. They have Stanley Market, they have the Ladies Market, in Kowloon, and they have some places like that. But my favorite places are some of the wet markets. For instance, in Central, there's the Graham Street Market, which has been in operation for 150-something years, selling fresh produce, the way they've always done it. And that's something. It's almost like stepping back into time, when you go into a place like that. And then, the locals still go there every single morning to buy their fresh vegetables to cook up for dinner. And it's really a great sight to see, where you can buy live fish and they weigh the fish and you pay, how much you want to consume. It's great.
Now, about the cuisine in Hong Kong, there's one chapter that you talk about. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah. Well, there's some, obviously Cantonese food is world famous for its quality and variety. One of the things that is probably more particular to Hong Kong is a dish called pun choy, which is a Hakka dish, and it's traditionally called basin food. And that's something that's prepared kind of over the course of several days, and it's basically a massive shared bowl of different layers of vegetables and seafood and meats that were traditionally consumed in the walled communities in Hakka villages in Hong Kong. and even now it's still enjoyed, but it's more of a ceremonial dish. So you have it at during Chinese New Year and at some special festivals and things like that. And that's kind of a very kind of unique type of thing that's probably particular to Hong Kong.
Now, when you designed this book, Bubbling Through series, who is your target audience that you are trying to appeal, and and why do you decide to write the Bubbling Through series? Because I mean, you're an architect,
right,
and also a musician and a stand-up comedian,
right.
So. I mean, you're indeed a man of all trades. So why did you decide to write the Bubbling Through series?
Well, to answer your first question, the target audience is really probably ages 14 and above, but it was really written for kind of a high school and maybe university age of young adults. And the purpose is to really inspire people to travel, inspire people to backpack and explore the world around them, but also have some sense of what's happening with the environment in terms of environmental preservation and historic preservation, things like that. And I guess the whole thing got started is because these books are essentially kind of refined versions of my original travel sketches when I was doing a lot of backpacking. Because I would go out for some months, months at a time and travel through these different destinations. And the way I experienced travel and the way I recorded travel is I kept very, very detailed journals. I didn't just rely on cameras and photographs, but I would, at the end of every day, I'd basically write as much as I could remember, because if you don't do that, you tend to forget. Even if it's the mundane things like, I paid $2.50 for something in such and such a place, or I took bus number 5 from here to there. But I would try to basically download all of my memories for the day in as much detail as possible, and then I do these little thumbnail sketches, which are very similar to the ones you see in the book here. These little thumbnail sketches of how I remembered the scene in my mind's eye. So that's kind of what led to this whole thing. So the books are essentially autobiographical, but I fictionalized them as well to incorporate kind of entertaining mysteries and adventures in there to draw readers from one book to another. And every book has a different destination. So the first one was Borneo. The second one was in Sarawak in Borneo. The third one is Hong Kong. And now I'm working on a fourth one, which you'll have to read the third book to find out where it is.
And what will be the key lessons that your readers would like to learn from you? And of course, you are working on the fourth book. So do you have any plans to create a website and have some kind of like a platform where you can invite your fans to post different stories, if there's any plans in the pipeline, and would you also be posting other stories that has not been published before? Perhaps maybe some of the chapters have been left out from your previous volumes.
Right.
Is there any sort of plans along that way?
Absolutely. The way I kind of see this kind of growing and expanding, I mean, the book series is the core adventure, but we're also looking into opportunities with gaming. We're also looking at web-based applications, maybe iPad apps, where there's enriched content, where you can actually drill down and get more information on a particular subject, things like that. And like you said, additional content. So, there's even, I have thoughts about, perhaps, having some of the original, actual my travel journals, some of the entries and some of the images, because, when I go to these places, if I see a really interesting piece of architecture, or a temple or a historic building, I will sit there, and basically draw it right there on the spot for, maybe it takes a couple hours or something like that. But I'm thinking of having some of those sketches available too, as kind of, enhanced content, additional content.
Once again, before we conclude, is there anything that you like to tell the world of your adventures, towards the end of your life? What would you like to be remembered for?
Oh my God, that's a great question. How would I like to be remembered?
Yes, through the Bubbling Through series. I would
love to be remembered as someone that inspired others to get off the couch, go out and explore the world. My motto is always, and I don't know who came up with this quote, but it's my favorite quote, is see the world before you leave it. Because there's so much, I mean, it's a huge, massive, beautiful world, and there's so many amazing countries and so many great people to meet, and people shouldn't be dissuaded from, from experiencing different cultures and meeting different people. I mean, it's amazing.
And if you had not started the Bumbling Through series, would you have regretted it?
Probably. Yeah, probably. Yeah, absolutely. Because the way the whole series started was really my way of communicating my experiences, travel experiences, to what started out as my immediate family and friends, which eventually kind of morphed into a book series that is, available for everyone.
And how did your book actually got published first in the very beginning?
In the very beginning, I had a prototype of the book that I basically just published myself, and that was my way of communicating to friends and family. And then, as time went on, eventually, we formed a proper publishing company and brought in different consultants and basically, relaunched the books in a format that's, acceptable to, mass consumption. And now we're working with different authors and illustrators. So the whole thing is, I've become an accidental publisher. So now we're working with other people doing their things. So it's been a real interesting process.
Amazing. And that has taken you for about less than 10 years?
Yeah, less than 10 years.
Well, once again, before we really conclude, Tom Schmidt, could you tell our audience where can they contact you for more information if you have a website of some sort or even
Sure.
Facebook?
The company that publishes is Kakibubu Media Limited, and our website is www.kakibubu.com. Kakibubu.com.
And there you go, folks. Please do join me to welcome Tom Schmidt with his wonderful books, the Bumbling Through series throughout the world. And you can actually place an order with Amazon.com or Barnes & Nobles. And if you're in Asia, you can even get copies of his book over at MPH bookstores in Asia, especially if you're traveling to Malaysia, Borneo, or even Singapore, as well as in Japan, Kinokuniya. And Kinokuniya is also in Singapore too, so just in case. So once again, thank you for joining me. I'm Robin Stienberg, and have a great day ahead.
Thank you.